The rain hit like bullets, and Doug Crusoe's hands were on Lucille's shoulders, shoving her toward the open car door while she screamed his name into the wind. "Get out! Doug, please, the baby! I said get out!" His fingers dug into her arms, 6 months of pregnancy making her clumsy as he pushed her from the leather seat onto the flooded highway. Her heels snapped. She fell hard on the asphalt, rain soaking through her emerald gown in seconds, and looked up at her husband's face, twisted with something she'd never seen before. Not anger, disgust. "Claire's bleeding. She needs me. You—" He threw her phone after her and it shattered against the road. "You can call your lover to save you. Oh wait, you don't have one because you're too pathetic for anyone to want." The car door slammed. Taillights disappeared into the storm. Lucille knelt on the highway in a puddle that soaked through to her skin, one hand on her belly where their daughter kicked frantically, the other pressed against the broken asphalt that had torn through her palm. Blood mixed with rainwater. Thunder cracked overhead like the sky was splitting open. She didn't cry. Couldn't cry. Her brain couldn't process that her husband had just thrown his pregnant wife out of a moving vehicle during a catastrophic storm to rush to his mistress. The same mistress everyone had warned her about, the same mistress she'd confronted him about 3 weeks ago, only to be told she was paranoid, hormonal, crazy. Headlights appeared through the sheets of rain. For one pathetic moment, her heart lifted. Doug had come back. Doug had realized. Doug had remembered he was supposed to love her. The car stopped. Not Doug's black Mercedes. A modest grey sedan. The driver's door opened and a man stepped out into the storm without hesitation, without an umbrella, just walked straight toward her through the downpour. She knew that walk, knew those shoulders, knew that face even though he'd been invisible in her house for 2 years, serving dinner while she pretended he wasn't there, cleaning rooms while she avoided looking at him because looking at Harvey Clooney hurt in ways she couldn't name. "Mrs. Crusoe." His voice was steady despite the chaos. "May I take you somewhere safe?" She stared at him, rain pouring down her face, her designer gown ruined, her marriage destroyed, her dignity scattered across a flooded highway. "How did you know I was here?" "I've been following you all night. I promised your mother I'd keep you safe." He held out his hand. "Please." "You're going into shock." Lucille looked at his hand, looked at the empty road where Doug's car had vanished, looked down at her shattered phone. She had no one else, no way to call anyone, no way home, just this man who'd loved her since she was 17, who she'd rejected, who she'd chosen safety over, who'd become a servant in her house just to stay close to her. She took his hand. Harvey pulled her to her feet with surprising strength, his arm immediately around her shoulders as her legs threatened to give out. He guided her to his car, opened the passenger door, helped her inside. The heat was already running. He'd been prepared. Of course he'd been prepared. Harvey was always prepared. "There's a blanket behind you," he said quietly, starting the engine. "You need to warm up. How far along are you?" 6 months. Her teeth were chattering. 6.5. His jaw tightened, but he said nothing, just turned the heat higher and drove through the storm with the careful precision of someone who'd driven through worse. Lucille wrapped herself in the blanket and watched the rain streak across the windshield. Her mind was blank, empty. She couldn't feel anything except the cold. "Where are we going?" she finally asked. "My apartment. It's 20 minutes away. I'm calling a doctor to meet us there." "I don't need a doctor. You're hypothermic, you fell on concrete while 6 months pregnant, and you're bleeding from your hand. You need a doctor." She looked down. Her palm was still bleeding, a deep gash from where she'd caught herself on the asphalt. She hadn't even felt it. "Okay. Mrs. Crusoe, I need you to stay awake. Can you do that for me?" "Why are you calling me Mrs. Crusoe? You've known me since I was 16. "Because you're married. To a man who just threw me out of a car." She started laughing, couldn't stop. The absurdity of it crashed over her in waves. "I'm Mrs. Crusoe, wife of Doug Crusoe, mother of his unborn child, woman he abandoned on a highway during a storm. That's my title now. That's who I am. Lucille." Harvey's voice cut through her hysteria. "Breathe. Just breathe." She did, One breath, then another. The laughter died. The numbness returned. Better than feeling. Feeling would destroy her. Harvey's apartment was modest. Third-floor walk-up. Clean but simple. Nothing like the mansion she'd left behind. He helped her inside, sat her on his couch, disappeared into another room, and returned with dry clothes. "These are mine, but they're clean. Bathroom is through there. I'll wait out here." Lucille took the clothes. Sweatpants, t-shirt, both would be enormous on her. She stood, swayed, and Harvey caught her elbow. "I've got you," he said quietly. Those 3 words broke something inside her chest. When was the last time Doug had said that? When was the last time Doug had meant it? She walked to the bathroom, peeled off her ruined gown, and stared at herself in the mirror. Bruises were already forming on her arms where Doug had grabbed her. Her knees were scraped bloody. Her hair hung in wet tangles. Her makeup had run in black streaks down her face. This was who she was now. This was what loving Doug Crucial had made her. She changed into Harvey's clothes, rolled the waistband of the sweatpants to accommodate her belly, and emerged to find a man in a suit waiting with Harvey in the living room. "Mrs. Crucial, I'm Dr. Morrison. I'm going to examine you and the baby, make sure you're both all right. Is that acceptable?" She nodded. Let him check her vitals, her bleeding hand, listen to the baby's heartbeat with a portable monitor. The steady thump, thump, thump filled the small apartment. Still alive, still fighting. Her daughter was stronger than her mother. "Baby's heartbeat is strong," Dr. Morrison said, packing his equipment. "You're hypothermic, but not dangerously so. The cuts need cleaning and bandaging, but no stitches. You'll be bruised and sore. I want you to rest for at least 3 days. No stress. If you experience any cramping, bleeding, or decreased fetal movement, call me immediately." He handed Harvey a card. Day or night. After the doctor left, Harvey brought her tea. Hot, sweet, exactly how she used to drink it when they were teenagers. He remembered. Of course he remembered. Harvey remembered everything. "Why?" she asked. "Why did you promise my mother you'd protect me?" Harvey sat across from her, careful to keep distance between them. "Because she asked me to. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I can give you right now. When did you see her? My mother died 2 years ago. You weren't at the funeral." "I was, in the back. You were too grief-stricken to notice me. I visited her every Sunday for 2 years before she died. She knew you'd married the wrong man. She asked me to stay close, to be there when you needed me." He met her eyes. She knew this day would come. "My mother knew Doug would—" Lucille couldn't finish the sentence. Saying it out loud made it real. "She knew he didn't love you the way you deserved to be loved. She knew eventually you'd see it too." Harvey's voice was gentle. "She wanted someone to catch you when you fell. So you became a servant in my house. I became whatever I needed to be to keep my promise." Lucille looked at him. Really looked. At the man who'd kissed her under an oak tree when she was 17, who'd set her whole body on fire with that one touch, who she'd been so terrified of feeling that much for that she'd run straight into Doug's safe, predictable arms 3 days later. "I chose wrong," she whispered. "You chose what you needed at the time. I needed safety. I got cruelty instead. I know. Harvey, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to be this person. The abandoned wife, the single mother, the woman everyone pities. You don't have to figure it out tonight. Tonight you just need to rest." He was right. Exhaustion pulled at her like undertow. She lay back against the pillows he'd arranged, pulled the blanket up to her chin, and closed her eyes. Within minutes, sleep claimed her. Harvey sat in the chair across the room and watched her breathe. Watched her hand rest protectively over her belly, even in sleep. Watched the woman he'd loved for 17 years, finally safe under his roof after 2 years of watching her husband slowly destroy her. His phone buzzed, a text from his assistant at Clooney Industries. "Board meeting tomorrow at 9. Need your approval on the Singapore acquisition." He typed back, "Reschedule everything for the rest of the week. Family emergency." The lie was necessary. No one could know who he really was. Not yet. Maybe not ever. This wasn't about him. It had never been about him. Outside, the storm continued to rage. 20 miles away, Doug Crucial arrived at Mercy General Hospital and found Claire Danes standing in the lobby, perfectly healthy, laughing with a man who had his arm around her waist. Doug stopped walking, stared. Claire saw him, and her smile turned vicious. "Took you long enough," she said, walking toward him with her companion. "This is Tyler, my fiancé. Real one, not fake one." "What?" Doug's voice came out strangled. "Oh, did you think we had something special?" Claire laughed, sharp and cruel. "You're just a wallet, Doug. A sad, pathetic wallet who I've been draining for 6 months. Thanks for the shopping sprees, by the way. Tyler and I leave for Paris tomorrow. Your money's paying for it." Tyler kissed Claire's temple. "Thanks for the vacation, man. You're a real champ." They walked away, left Doug standing in the hospital lobby, rain still dripping from his designer suit, the truth hitting him like a physical blow. Claire had never wanted him. Claire had never needed him. Claire had played him for 6 months, and he'd been too arrogant to see it. Lucille. God. Lucille. He ran back to his car, drove like a maniac through the storm, back to where he'd left her. The highway was empty. No wife. No broken phone. Just rain and darkness and the weight of what he'd done. Doug pulled over, got out in the rain, and screamed her name into the void. No answer. Just thunder, and his own voice echoing back. He'd thrown away his wife for a woman who'd never wanted him. He'd thrown away his marriage for 6 months of ego and lies. He'd thrown away everything. His phone rang. His mother. He didn't answer. Let it go to voicemail. She'd be furious that they'd left the gala early. She'd be more furious when she found out why. He got back in his car and drove home to their empty mansion, walked through rooms that still smelled like Lucille's perfume, and finally let himself understand what he'd done. He'd destroyed the only good thing in his life. And unlike Claire's lies, there was no taking this back. Chapter 2. The Reckoning of Memory. Doug called the police at 3 in the morning, his voice shaking as he reported his wife missing. The officer on the phone asked routine questions that felt like knives. "When did you last see her, Mr. Crucial?" "Around midnight. We were driving home from an event." "And she was with you in the car?" Doug hesitated. That hesitation would haunt him. "Yes." "Did she leave voluntarily?" Another pause. "I don't know." "You don't know if your pregnant wife left your car voluntarily?" The officer's tone shifted. "Mr. Crucial, is there something you need to tell me?" "We had an argument. I told her to get out. She got out. I drove away. When I came back, she was gone." Silence on the other end. Then, "You told your pregnant wife to get out of the car during a Category 3 storm?" "I thought she'd call someone. I thought—" "You'll need to come to the station, Mr. Crucial. Now." The interrogation room at the precinct was everything Doug had seen in movies, but never expected to experience. Cold metal table, flickering fluorescent lights, 2 detectives who looked at him like he was something they'd scraped off their shoes. "Mr. Crucial, let's be very clear about what happened last night," Detective Barnes said, sliding a notepad across the table. "You physically removed your 6-month pregnant wife from your vehicle during a catastrophic storm and left her on a highway, is that correct?" "I didn't physically remove her, she got out." "After you told her to get out." "We were arguing." "About what?" Doug couldn't say it. Couldn't admit he'd thrown his wife away for a mistress who'd been using him. "About the pregnancy. She was emotional, hormonal." Detective Barnes leaned back. "Mr. Crucial, we pulled security footage from the highway cameras. We can see your car stopped. We can see you lean across to the passenger side. We can see your wife exit the vehicle. Looks more like she fell, actually. We can see you throw something after her, then drive away. Does that sound like she got out voluntarily?" Doug's hands started shaking. "I made a mistake. I panicked. I came back for her." 37 minutes later. "In weather conditions that could kill someone in 15. I went to the hospital first. I thought—" "You thought what?" That your pregnant wife you just abandoned could wait while you did something more important? Detective Barnes slid a photo across the table, grainy security footage showing Doug pushing Lucille from the car. This is assault, Mr. Crucial. This is reckless endangerment. If anything happens to your wife or unborn child, this becomes something much worse. Doug stared at the photo, at the evidence of his own cruelty frozen in black and white. Where is she? Is she safe? We don't know. She hasn't contacted police. She hasn't gone to any hospital. She's just gone. Detective Barnes leaned forward. Which leads us to believe she doesn't want you to find her. Can you think of any reason why your wife would be afraid of you? I'm not. I would never. You threw her out of a car during a storm. I'd say that qualifies as would never. They kept him for 6 hours, asked the same questions different ways, built a case against him with his own words, finally released him with a warning. If Mrs. Crucial files charges, you'll be arrested. If anything happens to her or the baby, you'll be arrested. Stay away from her. If she contacts you, notify us immediately. Do you understand? Doug understood. He'd crossed a line he couldn't uncross. The law saw him for what he was now, a man who'd hurt his pregnant wife. Nothing else mattered. Not his reputation, not his business, not his explanations. He walked out of the police station into morning light that felt obscene after the night he'd endured. His phone had 17 missed calls. His mother, his father, his business partner, his lawyer. Everyone who mattered in his carefully constructed life suddenly demanding answers he didn't have. He ignored them all and drove to Harvey's apartment building. He didn't know why he knew. Maybe the way Harvey had always looked at Lucille when he thought no one was watching. Maybe the way Lucille had always avoided looking at Harvey. Maybe some instinct that told him his wife had run to the one person who'd never hurt her. He parked across the street and waited. 3 hours. 4. Finally, movement in a third-floor window. A figure passing by. Female. Pregnant. Lucille. She was alive. She was safe. She was with him. Doug's relief lasted exactly 10 seconds before rage replaced it. Harvey, the servant, the nobody who'd worked in their house for 2 years, invisible and quiet, always there, always watching. How long had this been planned? How long had Lucille been lying to him? He was about to storm the building when his phone rang. His lawyer. Doug, we have a serious problem. Lucille filed a restraining order. If you go within 500 feet of her, you'll be arrested. She's in there with another man. I don't care if she's with the entire football team. You go near her, you go to jail. The order is effective immediately. I'm sending you the paperwork now. Doug looked up at the window, saw Lucille's silhouette moving past, so close, untouchable. He drove home, read the restraining order, and understood that his wife hadn't just left him. She'd destroyed him. The order cited physical assault, emotional abuse, abandonment, and reckless endangerment. It painted him as a monster. Worse, it was all true. His phone rang again. His mother. He finally answered. Where have you been? The Vandermeers are asking questions. The senator's wife wants to know why you left the gala so suddenly. What do I tell them? Tell them the truth, Mother. Tell them I threw my pregnant wife out of a car during a storm so I could rush to my mistress who was faking an emergency. Tell them I'm exactly the piece of garbage they're all going to call me by tomorrow. Douglas, don't be dramatic. It's already on social media. Someone filmed it. The whole thing. It's trending. #abandonedwife. Check Twitter. He hung up, opened his own Twitter, saw the video that would define the rest of his life. Grainy night vision footage from someone's dash cam, his Mercedes stopping, the passenger door opening, Lucille falling, him throwing her phone, driving away, 40,000 retweets, comments rolling in by the second. This man is a monster. She's pregnant. What kind of human does this? I hope she takes everything in the divorce. He should be in prison. Doug threw his phone across the room and watched it shatter against the wall. Finally, something broken that wasn't him. Except that was a lie. He was broken, had been breaking for months, maybe years, and had been too arrogant to notice. Meanwhile, Lucille woke in Harvey's apartment to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows. For one peaceful moment, she forgot. Then, memory crashed back, and she had to grip the edge of the couch to keep from drowning in it. Harvey appeared in the doorway with tea and toast. "How are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a truck." She accepted the tea, held the warm cup in both hands. "Thank you for everything." "You don't need to thank me." "Yes, I do. You saved my life last night." "I kept a promise." He sat in the chair across from her, maintaining careful distance. "Dr. Morrison will be back this afternoon to check on you. I've stocked the guest room with everything you might need. You can stay here as long as you want. No pressure, no expectations." "Harvey, why? Why did you really become a servant in my house?" He was quiet for a long time. Then, "Your mother called me the month before she died. She was in hospice. She asked me to visit, so I did. Every Sunday for 8 weeks until she passed. We talked about a lot of things. Her life. Her regrets. You." Lucille's throat tightened. "What did she say about me?" "She said you'd chosen safety over passion. That you'd married a man who made you feel secure instead of the man who made you feel alive. She said it was her fault because she'd raised you to be careful, to be practical, to never take risks, and now you were paying for that lesson." Harvey's dark eyes met hers. "She asked me to watch over you, to be there when the safe choice turned dangerous. She knew it would happen. She just didn't know when. So you became our servant. I became invisible. I watched you build a life with a man who didn't deserve you. I watched him belittle you at dinner parties, dismiss your opinions, ignore you for his phone, treat you like an accessory instead of a person. I watched the light in your eyes dim a little more each month." His voice roughened. "And I waited for the day you'd need me. I hated that day had to come, but I was ready when it did." Lucille set down her tea with shaking hands. "We knew each other when we were young. We did. You kissed me, under the oak tree behind my mother's house. I was 17. You were 18. I remember. I ran. I met Doug 3 days later. I married him 10 months after that." She forced herself to look at Harvey. "I was terrified of you. I know. Not of you, Harvey. Of how you made me feel. Like I was on fire. Like I couldn't breathe. Like I'd never be safe again because you'd ruined me for anything less than that intensity." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "So I chose the man who didn't make me feel anything. And he destroyed me anyway." Harvey moved to sit beside her, close but not touching. "You weren't ready for what I felt. Maybe you still aren't. That's okay. I'm not here for that. I'm here because I promised your mother I'd keep you safe. Nothing more. You're lying. You want more. What I want doesn't matter. What you need does." Lucille turned to face him fully. "What do I need, Harvey?" "Time, space, safety, someone who won't hurt you while you figure out who you are without him. And you'll just wait. While I fall apart and put myself back together, you'll just sit here and wait for me to, maybe someday possibly feel something for you?" "Yes. That's not fair to you. I've waited 17 years. I can wait longer. What if I never—" She couldn't finish, too cruel to say out loud. "Then I'll have kept my promise to your mother and helped the woman I love survive something terrible. That's enough." Lucille broke, sobbed into her hands while Harvey sat beside her, close enough to feel his warmth, far enough to give her space to shatter. He didn't try to fix her, didn't offer empty comfort, just sat with her in her grief until she had no tears left. "I filed a restraining order," she said when she could speak again. "My lawyer handled it this morning. Doug can't come near me." "Good. He's going to fight back. His family will fight back. They'll make me look crazy, unstable. They'll say I'm an unfit mother. Let them try. You have evidence. The video, the medical records, the truth. The truth doesn't always win. No, but it's all we have." Lucille's phone, a replacement Harvey had arranged, buzzed with a message from her lawyer. The restraining order is active. He's been notified. Also, there's a video going viral. You need to see it. She opened the link, watched herself fall from Doug's car, watched him throw her phone, watched him drive away. 40 million views. The entire world had witnessed her humiliation. "I'm a meme," she said flatly. "I'm the abandoned pregnant wife. That's my legacy now." "No, you're the woman who survived. That's your legacy." She wanted to believe him. Instead, she watched the video loop, watched herself hit the ground over and over, watched the moment her life split into before and after. Harvey gently took the phone from her hands. "Stop watching. It changes nothing. It changes everything. Everyone knows now. Everyone sees what he did to me." "Good. Let them see. Let them judge him. You did nothing wrong." But Lucille knew better. In society's eyes, she'd done everything wrong. She'd failed to keep her husband interested, failed to prevent the affair, failed to fight hard enough for her marriage. The world would blame her while pretending to support her. She'd seen it happen to other women. Now she was one of them. Her phone rang. Her mother-in-law. She declined the call. It rang again immediately, declined again. Third time, Harvey answered it. "Mrs. Crucell is not available. Don't call this number again." He hung up before Doug's mother could respond. "She'll just keep calling," Lucille said. "Then I'll keep declining." "Harvey, you can't fight my battles for me." "I'm not fighting them for you. I'm standing beside you while you fight them yourself. There's a difference." Lucille looked at this man who'd loved her for 17 years, who'd watched her marry someone else, who'd made himself invisible just to stay close, who'd caught her when she fell. For the first time, she let herself really see him. Not the servant, not the boy under the oak tree, the man he'd become. "I'm going to hurt you," she said quietly. "I'm too broken right now to love anyone properly. I'm going to take and give nothing back because I have nothing left to give. And you're going to let me because you're too good. But one day you'll wake up and realize you wasted years on a woman who could never love you the way you deserve. And I won't blame you when you leave." Harvey's smile was sad. "I've already wasted 17 years. What's a few more? That's not funny. I'm not joking. Lucille, I knew what I was signing up for the day I promised your mother I'd protect you. I knew you'd never love me back. I knew I'd spend my life wanting something I couldn't have. I chose it anyway. So don't worry about hurting me. I'm already hurt. Have been for years. This," he gestured between them, "this is just existing in that hurt with purpose. You're insane. Probably. You should have moved on. Couldn't. Harvey, I tried, Lucille. God knows I tried. Other women, other cities, other lives, nothing worked. You're it for me. You've always been it. I accepted that a long time ago." He stood, gave her space again. "But I'm not asking you to feel the same. I'm just asking you to let me keep my promise. Let me keep you safe while you heal. Everything else we'll figure out later. Or never. Whichever you need." Lucille watched him walk back to the kitchen, watched him move through the small apartment with quiet confidence, watched him choose her healing over his own heart. She'd spent 7 years with a man who'd chosen himself over her at every turn. Now she was with a man who'd choose her over himself forever. The difference was staggering. The guilt was crushing. The fear was overwhelming. Because falling for Harvey would mean admitting she'd wasted 7 years on the wrong man, admitting her mother had been right, admitting she'd run from the very thing she'd needed most. And Lucille Ball wasn't ready to admit any of that yet. Chapter 3. When Society Turns. The video hit mainstream news by day 3. Every channel, every website, every conversation. Abandoned wife became a hashtag, a meme, a cultural moment. Lucille's face was everywhere, frozen in the moment of her humiliation, and she couldn't escape it. Her phone exploded with messages. Friends she hadn't spoken to in years, suddenly concerned, enemies pretending to be concerned, strangers offering support, strangers offering judgment. The internet had opinions, and none of them were asking for hers. But the real war happened in the society she'd once belonged to. The charity luncheons, The country club gossip, the whispered conversations at fundraising galas, Doug's people versus Lucille's people, except she quickly realized she'd never had people. She'd only borrowed Doug's. Harvey's apartment felt like a bunker, safe, isolated. She stayed inside for 3 days until Dr. Morrison cleared her for limited activity. Then she had a decision to make, hide or face them. She chose to face them. Her first public appearance was at her obstetrician's office. 7 months pregnant now, she walked into the waiting room in a simple black dress and sunglasses she didn't remove. 8 other women were there. All of them stared. Lucille sat down, picked up a magazine she didn't read, and waited for her name to be called. The silence was suffocating. Then one woman, young, blonde, dripping in diamonds, cleared her throat. "I'm so sorry for what you're going through." Lucille lowered her magazine. "Thank you. We all saw the video. It must be so hard knowing everyone witnessed it." "It's harder knowing I lived it." The blonde woman nodded sympathetically. "Is it true you're staying with another man? That's what people are saying." And there it was. The knife hidden in the sympathy. "I'm staying with a friend who gave me shelter when my husband left me on a highway to die. If that offends your sensibilities, I suggest you examine why you're more concerned about my living situation than my husband's attempt to kill me." The waiting room went silent. The blonde woman's cheeks flushed. "I wasn't suggesting—" "Yes, you were. You all are." The concerned looks, the pitying smiles, the whispered questions about where I'm staying and who I'm with, and whether I'm behaving appropriately for a woman in my situation. Lucille stood, her hand protective over her belly. "My situation is that I'm 6 months pregnant, and my husband threw me into a storm. Everything else is none of your business." A different woman spoke up, older, elegant. "Mrs. Crucell, we're not your enemies." "No? Then why does it feel like you're all waiting for me to fail?" "Because that's what women do." This from another woman, middle-aged, tired eyes. "We watch each other fail and feel better about our own marriages. Your tragedy is our comfort. At least our husbands didn't throw us out of cars. At least our humiliation was private. You're just the unlucky one who got caught on camera." The honesty was brutal. Lucille sat back down. "Is that what I am to you all? Entertainment?" "No," the older, elegant woman said. "You're a warning. You're what happens when we marry for the wrong reasons and ignore the red flags and convince ourselves that love looks like what we have instead of what we need." She leaned forward. "I've been married to a cruel man for 32 years. Everyone thinks we're perfect. I think about leaving every single day, but I'm too old, too tired, too invested in the lie. You're 29. You have time to rebuild. Don't waste it being bitter." Lucille stared at her, at this woman who'd just handed her the truth without asking permission. "What's your name?" "Eleanor Whitmore. My husband's a senator. We were at the gala the night you left." "I remember. I saw the way your husband looked at that young blonde. I saw the way you pretended not to see. I wanted to warn you, but we don't do that in our circles. We let each other burn." Eleanor's smile was sad. "I'm glad you got out before the fire consumed you completely." "Lucille Ball?" the nurse called from the doorway. Lucille stood, turned back to Eleanor. "It's not too late for you either." "Yes, it is, but thank you for the kind lie." The appointment was routine. Baby was healthy, heartbeat strong, growth on track. Lucille was healing physically. Emotionally was another story. Her doctor asked careful questions about her living situation, her support system, her mental health. Lucille answered carefully, knowing every word would be documented, potentially used against her later. "Are you safe where you're staying?" Dr. Reynolds asked. "Very safe." "And the father, is he involved?" "He has a restraining order preventing him from coming near me." Dr. Reynolds made a note. "I need to ask, do you feel threatened by him?" "I feel nothing toward him anymore. That's worse than feeling threatened." How so? Because hate is still connection, indifference is divorce. Lucille smiled without humor. I'm already divorced in my head. The paperwork is just formality. Leaving the office, Lucille found Eleanor waiting by her car. I wanted to apologize, Eleanor said, for what I said in there about women watching each other fail. It was cruel. It was honest. I appreciate honest more than kind right now. Still, you're going through hell. You don't need me making it worse. Eleanor handed her a business card. That's my private number. If you need anything, a friend, a lawyer recommendation, a place to hide, call me. No judgment, no gossip, just support. Lucille took the card, surprised by the gesture. Why are you helping me? You don't know me. Because 30 years ago I was you, and no one helped me. I want to be the person I needed back then. They stood in the parking lot, two women from different generations, connected by the common thread of surviving men who'd hurt them. Eleanor got in her car and drove away. Lucille watched her go and wondered if that was her future. 30 years from now, helping some other broken woman, still married to her own cruelty, calling it success because she'd survived. She wouldn't let that be her story. Whatever happened next, she refused to spend 30 years accepting less than she deserved. Harvey was waiting when she got back to the apartment, laptop open, expression grim. We have a problem. What kind of problem? He turned the laptop toward her. News article. Sources close to the Crucell family claim Lucille Ball has been involved in an extramarital affair with family employee Harvey Clooney for months. They suggest the viral video was staged to garner sympathy and financial advantage in divorce proceedings. Lucille read it twice. Couldn't believe it the second time either. They're accusing us of staging this, of me throwing myself out of a car for sympathy. Doug's mother is fighting back. This is her opening move. It's insane. We have video evidence, we have police reports, we have medical records, and they have money and lawyers and a vested interest in protecting their son's reputation. Harvey closed the laptop. This is going to get worse before it gets better. He was right. By evening, 3 more articles appeared, all from anonymous sources close to the family, all painting Lucille as a calculating woman who'd planned her own victimization. The comment sections were vicious. She's playing the victim. Convenient that a rich friend was there to rescue her. Something doesn't add up. Women lie about this stuff all the time for divorce settlements. Lucille read until she couldn't anymore. Harvey took her phone away. Stop! You're torturing yourself. They're destroying me, making me into a villain when I'm the one who was hurt. They're scared. You're threatening their world. If they admit Doug is guilty, they have to examine their own husbands, their own marriages, their own choices. Easier to make you the liar. How do I fight this? You don't. Not yet. You heal. You prepare. You let them dig their own graves with lies. Then when the time is right, you bury them with truth. And when is the right time? When you're strong enough to watch them fall without feeling guilty about it. Lucille wasn't there yet. Still felt guilty, still wondered if she'd done something wrong, missed some warning sign, failed somehow to be enough to keep Doug faithful. The rational part of her brain knew it wasn't her fault. The wounded part believed she'd deserved it. That night she couldn't sleep. Lay in Harvey's guest bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying 7 years of marriage. Looking for the moment it went wrong. Finding too many moments. Realizing it had been wrong from the beginning, she'd just been too determined to make it right to notice. A soft knock on the door. Harvey's voice. Lucille, are you awake? Yes. Can I come in? Okay. He entered carrying 2 mugs of tea, handed her one, sat on the edge of the bed with careful distance between them. Couldn't sleep either. Too much noise in my head. Want to share? She didn't. Did anyway. I'm trying to figure out when my marriage died, when Doug stopped loving me, when I stopped mattering, but I can't find one moment. It's like looking for when a plant died. By the time you notice it's been dying for months. Maybe your marriage didn't die. Maybe it was never alive. That's worse. Why? Because it means I wasted 7 years on a corpse, on something that looked like love but was actually just performance. We were performing for everyone, including each other, including ourselves. Harvey sipped his tea. Do you know why I never dated anyone seriously after you? Because you're obsessed with me? Because I knew what real want felt like, what real need felt like, and everything else after that felt like settling. I couldn't settle. Not after knowing what it was like to want someone so much it hurt. That sounds exhausting. It was, is, but it's also honest. I'd rather be exhausted by truth than comfortable with lies. Lucille turned to look at him. Really look. You're too good for me, Harvey Clooney. Or maybe you're exactly good enough for me, and you just don't see it yet. I don't know how to see anything right now except survival, one day at a time, one breath at a time. Then we'll take it one breath at a time together. He stood to leave. She stopped him with words she didn't plan. Stay, please, just until I fall asleep. I don't want to be alone with my thoughts anymore tonight. Harvey hesitated, then sat back down, this time in the chair by the window. Close enough to hear her breathe, far enough to honor the boundaries she needed. Lucille fell asleep to the sound of Harvey's presence, steady, reliable, safe in a way Doug never was. Miles away, Doug sat in his empty mansion surrounded by legal documents he couldn't understand and bills he couldn't pay. The video had cost him everything. 3 major clients cancelled contracts citing moral concerns. His business partner suggested he step back until the scandal died down. His father stopped returning calls. His mother was fighting a war he couldn't win. He opened his laptop, searched for Lucille's name, found articles, op-eds, think pieces about abandonment and pregnancy and abuse, found the video with 90 million views, found his face turned into a meme representing everything wrong with men. He found one article that stopped him cold, an interview with Claire Danes. Doug Crucell promised me the world. He said he'd leave his wife for me. He said we'd build a life together. I believed him. I'm not the villain here. I'm a victim of his manipulation. Complete lies. All of it. But the comments believed her. Poor woman. He destroyed 2 lives. Men like this should be in prison. Doug closed the laptop before he threw it through the window. Everything Claire said was backwards. He'd never promised her anything. She'd pursued him, manipulated him, used him. But the world loved a female victim and hated a male villain. Truth didn't matter. Narrative did. His phone rang. His lawyer. Doug, we need to talk about strategy. Lucille's lawyer is preparing divorce papers. They're going to take you for everything. I deserve it. You deserve to protect your assets. We can fight this. No, give her whatever she wants. The house, the money, everything. That's insane. You'll have nothing left. I already have nothing left, nothing that matters anyway. He hung up, sat in the silence of his own making, finally understood that losing Lucille wasn't punishment for his mistakes. It was consequence, and consequences didn't care about regret. Chapter 4. The unraveling Doug's mother called her own press conference, standing on the steps of the family estate, with lawyers flanking her like bodyguards. Lucille watched it from Harvey's apartment, sick with anticipation. My son has been wrongly vilified by a vicious campaign orchestrated by a woman seeking financial gain, Vivienne Crucell announced, her voice dripping with practiced elegance. The video you've all seen has been taken out of context. My daughter-in-law was never in danger. She exited the vehicle of her own accord during a minor disagreement. My son returned moments later to find her gone. This entire narrative of abandonment is fabricated. The reporters shouted questions. Vivienne ignored them all. Furthermore, we have evidence that Mrs. Crucell has been conducting an affair with a family employee, a Mr. Harvey Clooney, for several months prior to this incident. This was not a frightened wife seeking shelter. This was a calculated woman moving in with her lover. We will be pursuing legal action for defamation and will seek full custody of the unborn child on grounds of moral unfitness. The screen went black. Lucille had thrown a pillow at the television. Full custody. She's going to try to take my baby. Harvey was already on the phone with lawyers. She can try, she'll fail, but she'll make it ugly first. The ugliness started immediately. Vivian's lawyers filed emergency motions claiming Lucille was exposing the unborn child to an immoral and unstable environment by living with Harvey. They demanded she return to the family home under supervision until the baby was born. Lucille's lawyer, a sharp woman named Rebecca Martinez, laughed when she read the filing. This is desperation. They have nothing, so they're throwing everything at the wall, hoping something sticks. She looked at Lucille over the conference table. But I need to ask, is there any truth to the affair allegations? No. I never cheated on Doug. Harvey and I had no relationship beyond employer-employee until the night Doug threw me out. And now? What is your relationship with Mr. Clooney? Lucille glanced at Harvey, who sat beside her, silent but present. He's my friend. He's keeping me safe. Nothing more. Rebecca nodded. Good. Keep it that way until the divorce is final. Optics matter. I don't care what you actually feel or do. Just make sure it can't be used against you in court. The hearing was scheduled for the following week. Until then, Lucille had to endure the court of public opinion, which was far less interested in evidence than in drama. Social media split into camps. Team Lucille posted supportive messages and shared the video as proof of Doug's cruelty. Team Doug posted conspiracy theories and pointed to her living situation as evidence of an affair. The truth got lost somewhere in the middle while both sides screamed at each other. Lucille made one public statement through her lawyer. I did not have an affair. I was not seeking financial gain. I simply wanted to survive a situation that could have killed me and my child. I ask for privacy as I navigate this difficult time. It did nothing. Privacy was a luxury she'd lost the moment the video went viral. Photographers camped outside Harvey's building. Reporters ambushed her at doctor's appointments. Strangers shouted questions at her in grocery stores. Harvey hired security, 2 men who followed her everywhere, keeping the vultures at bay. It helped. It also made her feel like a prisoner. I can't live like this, she told Harvey one evening. I can't be trapped in your apartment forever. You're not trapped. You're protected. There's a difference. It doesn't feel different. Harvey set down his book. What do you want to do? I want to go somewhere no one knows who I am, somewhere I can breathe without cameras in my face. Then we'll go. Where? I have a house upstate. Small, private. No one knows about it. You have a house upstate. I have several houses. I'll tell you about them later. Pack a bag. We'll leave tonight. They drove north through darkness, leaving the city and its chaos behind. Lucille watched lights fade in the rear-view mirror and felt something loosen in her chest. Freedom, even if temporary. Harvey's small house was a sprawling estate on 40 acres of woods and lake. Lucille stared at it through the car window. You have interesting definitions of small. It's small compared to the others. Harvey, who are you, really? He pulled into the garage, cut the engine, turned to face her. I'm someone who got very rich very young and learned to hide it because wealth attracts the wrong kind of attention. How rich? Billionaire rich. Lucille laughed. Couldn't help it. Of course you are. My life has become so absurd that my homeless situation involves staying in a billionaire's secret estate. You're not homeless. You're protected. By a man who's been in love with me since we were teenagers and somehow built an empire while pining. That's not protection, Harvey. That's obsession. I know. He got out of the car, started unloading bags. I've never pretended otherwise. Inside, the house was beautiful. Warm wood, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake, fireplaces in every room. Lucille walked through it like a museum, touching furniture that cost more than cars, standing in a kitchen bigger than Harvey's entire apartment. You lived in that tiny apartment when you could have lived here. I lived in that apartment because you lived in your mansion. I couldn't watch over you from 40 miles away. So you became a servant. I became whatever I needed to be. Lucille turned to face him, 7 months pregnant, exhausted, done with pretending. This is crazy. You know that, right? Everything about this is insane. You hiding who you are, me running to you, this whole situation. Agreed. So why does it feel like the first sane thing I've done in years? Harvey moved closer. Not touching, just close. Because sometimes crazy is just truth that society hasn't accepted yet. That's not comforting. I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to keep you safe while you find your own comfort. What if I never find it? Then I'll keep you safe forever. Lucille wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was wasting his life, wanted to push him away because accepting his help meant admitting she needed it. But she was too tired to fight, too broken to pretend. Show me to my room, she said instead. I need to sleep for about 1,000 years. Harvey showed her to a suite bigger than most apartments. King bed, private bathroom, balcony overlooking the lake. Lucille sat on the bed and felt the weight of the past week crash over her. Thank you, she said quietly, for all of this, for everything. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. You could have walked away. You didn't. I could never walk away from you. Don't thank me for being selfish. He left before she could respond. Lucille lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Harvey thought he was being selfish, but letting yourself love someone who couldn't love you back, that wasn't selfishness. That was martyrdom. And Lucille didn't want Harvey to be a martyr for her broken heart. She didn't know what she wanted him to be, only that the idea of him not being there anymore made her chest hurt in ways she couldn't explain. The week at the estate passed in a blur of quiet. No reporters, no lawyers, no social media, just Lucille and Harvey existing in the same space without pretending everything was fine. They fell into a rhythm, mornings on the dock watching the lake, afternoons reading in the library, evenings cooking dinner together. Harvey was an excellent cook. Lucille couldn't boil water without burning it. They laughed about it, laughed about other things too, small things, stupid things, the kind of laughter that hurt because it felt like betraying the gravity of everything else. I haven't laughed in months, Lucille said one evening while they were making pasta that she'd somehow managed not to ruin. I forgot what it felt like. What does it feel like? Like being human again. Like maybe I'm not just a walking tragedy. You were never just a tragedy. You were always human. You just forgot for a while. Doug made me forget. No, Doug made you hide. There's a difference. Lucille stirred the sauce, thought about that. Do you ever hide who you are? Every day, being Harvey Clooney, billionaire, comes with expectations I don't enjoy. Charity events, board meetings, people wanting things from me. I hide from all of it as much as possible. Then who are you when you're not hiding? Harvey considered the question. I'm a man who likes building things. Companies, strategies, solutions to problems no one else can solve. I'm good at it. It makes me money, but it's not who I am. It's just what I do. So, who are you? I'm someone who fell in love at 17 and never figured out how to fall out. I'm someone who makes promises to dying women and keeps them. I'm someone who would rather watch you live your life from a distance than live my own life without you in it somewhere. He looked at her. I'm the man who's been waiting for you to come home, even though you never left. Lucille's throat tightened. Harvey, you asked. I answered. You don't have to respond. You don't have to feel the same. I just wanted you to know who I am when I'm not hiding. I don't know who I am when I'm not hiding. Then maybe we figure it out together. The hearing arrived too quickly. Lucille returned to the city with Harvey, dressed in a conservative navy dress that hid her 7-month belly as much as possible, her hair pulled back, minimal makeup. She looked like every man's idea of a proper woman. It made her want to vomit. The courtroom was packed. Vivian sat on one side with her lawyers. Lucille sat on the other with Rebecca. Doug wasn't there, chose not to attend, chose to let his mother fight his battles. Vivian's lawyer presented their case. Lucille was unfit. living with a man out of wedlock, exposing the child to immoral influences. They had witnesses who would testify to seeing inappropriate behavior between Lucille and Harvey. Rebecca dismantled it piece by piece. The witnesses were all family friends with vested interests. The inappropriate behavior was Harvey helping a pregnant woman walk. The entire case was fabricated desperation from a family trying to control a narrative they'd already lost. Then Rebecca played the video, the full version, not the edited clip. Showed Doug physically shoving Lucille from the car, showed him throwing her phone, showed him driving away while his pregnant wife lay on the ground. The courtroom went silent. "This," Rebecca said, "is what Mrs. Crusoe survived. This is why she sought shelter with a friend. This is why she obtained a restraining order. And this is why the Crusoe family is trying to destroy her character, because they can't defend their son's actions, so they attack her instead." Judge Morrison, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes, looked at Vivian. "Mrs. Crusoe, do you have any evidence beyond hearsay and character witnesses that your daughter-in-law is unfit?" "Your Honor, she's living in sin with another man. She's living in safety after your son committed assault. Unless you have evidence of actual wrongdoing, I'm inclined to dismiss this petition." "Your Honor, we have financial records showing..." "Showing what? That she accessed her own trust fund? That's not evidence of unfitness. That's evidence of good sense." Judge Morrison closed the file. "Petition denied. Mrs. Lucille Ball retains full custody of her unborn child. Mr. Douglas Crusoe's access will be determined after the child's birth and appropriate psychological evaluation. This hearing is adjourned." Vivian's face went white, then red. She stood, pointed at Lucille. "You've destroyed my family. You've destroyed my son. I hope you're proud of yourself." Lucille stood too, hand on her belly. "Your son destroyed himself. I just survived it." Security had to escort Vivian out as she continued screaming. Rebecca squeezed Lucille's shoulder. "You won. It's over." But it wasn't over. Winning in court didn't mean winning in life. Outside, photographers swarmed. Questions shouted from every direction. Harvey's security created a barrier, got them to the car, drove away before anyone could follow. "You did it," Harvey said. "You won." "Then why don't I feel like I won?" "Because winning against people like them doesn't feel like victory. It feels like survival." He was right. Lucille had survived. But surviving wasn't the same as living, and she didn't know how to get from one to the other. That night, back at the estate, she stood on the balcony watching moonlight on the lake. Harvey found her there an hour later. "You should be sleeping." "Can't. Too much adrenaline." He stood beside her, not touching. "What are you thinking about?" "How strange it is that winning in court feels hollow. I thought I'd feel vindicated. Instead, I just feel empty." Because court was never about vindication. It was about protection. Vindication comes later, when you build a life that makes the old one irrelevant. And how do I do that? One day at a time. One choice at a time. One moment of choosing yourself over what they expect you to be. Lucille turned to look at him. "Is that what you did? Chose yourself?" "No, I chose you, but it amounted to the same thing." "That doesn't make sense." "Love rarely does." She wanted to tell him to stop loving her, stop waiting, stop wasting himself on someone who might never be whole enough to love him back. But the words stuck in her throat because somewhere deep down, she didn't want him to stop, didn't want him to leave, didn't want to face the world without him standing beside her. That terrified her more than Doug ever had. Chapter 5. The Revelation. Lucille settled into life at the estate with uneasy comfort. The quiet was healing, the space was necessary, but underlying everything was the question she couldn't ignore. Who was Harvey Clooney, really? She started noticing things. The calls he took in private, speaking in tones that suggested authority. The documents that arrived by courier requiring his signature. The way staff at the local market treated him with deference despite his casual clothes. He wasn't just wealthy, he was powerful. One afternoon while Harvey was out, Lucille did what any rational person would do. She Googled him, The results were staggering. Harvey Remington Clooney, founder and CEO of Clooney Industries, net worth estimated at $14 billion, technology patents, real estate holdings, venture capital investments, board member of 6 Fortune 500 companies, philanthropist, recluse. The photos showed a different Harvey, suited, polished, standing with presidents and prime ministers, nothing like the man who'd been cooking her breakfast and reading beside her on the dock. She was still staring at her laptop when Harvey returned. "Find anything interesting?" he asked from the doorway. Lucille jumped. "You knew I'd look you up?" "I was surprised it took this long." He set down grocery bags, started unpacking. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. Start with why a man worth $14 billion was working as a servant in my house." "I told you. I promised your mother—" "That's not enough, Harvey. Normal people don't hide their entire identity for 2 years just to keep a promise. That's not devotion. That's—" She struggled for the word. "That's pathological." He stopped unpacking, leaned against the counter. "You want the truth? Please. I didn't just fall in love with you when we were 17. I became obsessed. After you married Doug, I threw myself into building Clooney Industries because if I couldn't have you, I'd have everything else. I made my first billion at 25, my fifth at 30. None of it mattered because you weren't there." He met her eyes. "Your mother called me the month before she died. She knew I'd never moved on. She asked me to watch over you, not from a distance, close, where I could see you, understand you, be there when you finally needed someone who wouldn't fail you. So you erased yourself. I created a new identity. Harvey the servant, quiet, invisible, safe. I watched you live with a man who didn't deserve you, watched him belittle you, ignore you, cheat on you. I watched you pretend everything was fine while your light died a little more each day." His voice roughened. "And I waited, like a vulture, like a predator. For the moment you'd be broken enough to need me." The honesty was brutal. Lucille sat down, processing. "That's disturbing." "I know. That's not love. That's stalking." "I know that too. So why are you telling me this? Why not just keep pretending you're some noble protector?" "Because you deserve the truth. Because I'm tired of pretending. Because you asked who I really am, and this is it. I'm a man who loved you so much it twisted into something unhealthy. I'm not the hero of this story. I'm just someone who was there when you needed them." Lucille didn't know what to say. The Harvey she'd been building in her mind, the patient, selfless protector, didn't match this raw confession. This was messier, darker, more real. "I don't know how to feel about this," she said finally. "You don't have to feel anything. I'm not asking for forgiveness or understanding. I'm just being honest." "Why now?" "Because you're starting to look at me like I'm something I'm not, something pure. And I'd rather you hate me for who I am than love me for who I'm pretending to be." Lucille laughed without humor. "I couldn't hate you if I tried." "Then you're not trying hard enough. Harvey, you saved my life. You gave me shelter when I had nowhere to go. You protected me from Doug's family. You're letting me live in your house rent-free while I figure out my life. How am I supposed to hate you for that? Because I didn't do any of it out of pure goodness. I did it because I wanted you here, with me, where I could finally have what I'd wanted for 17 years, even if I had to wait for your life to fall apart first." He pushed off the counter. "I'm not noble, Lucille. I'm selfish. Every kind thing I've done has been because I wanted you close. That's not love. That's possession. And what if I don't see it that way? Then you're not seeing clearly." She stood, walked over to him, forced him to look at her. "What if I told you I understand? What if I told you that every choice I've made for the past 7 years has been running from the intensity of what I felt when you kissed me? What if I told you I chose Doug because he was safe and small and wouldn't demand I feel anything real? What if we're both obsessed, just in different ways?" Harvey's jaw tightened. "Don't. Don't what? Don't make this mutual. Don't try to match my dysfunction with yours. You deserve better than that. Maybe I don't want better. Maybe I want real. This isn't real. This is trauma bonding. You're vulnerable, I'm available, and we're both pretending it means something. You don't believe that. I have to believe that. Because the alternative is accepting that we're two broken people enabling each other's worst patterns. He stepped back, creating distance. You need to heal, Lucille. Really heal. Not just hide here with me and call it recovery. So what are you saying? You want me to leave? I'm saying you need to figure out who you are without Doug, without me, without anyone telling you who to be. And how am I supposed to do that when I'm 7 months pregnant and have nowhere else to go? You have everywhere to go. You have money now, freedom, options. You're choosing to stay here. I need you to understand why. Lucille felt tears burning. I'm staying here because you're the only person who's never asked me to be anything other than what I am, because you see me, really see me, not the image or the performance or the woman everyone expects, just me. And what if the me you think you see is just another performance? Then we're both pretending. At least we're doing it honestly. Harvey looked at her for a long moment. Then he left the room without another word. Lucille stood in the kitchen surrounded by half-unpacked groceries and truths she hadn't wanted to face. She was falling for Harvey. Had been falling since the night he found her in the rain. Maybe before. Maybe since she was 17 and ran away from the fire he'd lit inside her. But Harvey was right about one thing. She couldn't build a new life on the ashes of her old one. She had to actually heal. Actually figure out who Lucille Ball was without a man defining her, even if that man was Harvey Clooney. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. Divorce papers are ready. Just need your signature. Lucille stared at the message. Signing meant making it official, making it real, ending 7 years of marriage with her signature on a document. She called Rebecca back. Send them over. I'm ready. You're sure? I've been sure since the night he threw me out of his car. Everything after that has just been paperwork. The divorce papers arrived by courier the next morning. Lucille read through them carefully. Division of assets, custody arrangements, restraining order extensions. Everything she'd asked for was there. She signed her name on every page, her handwriting steady despite the weight of what she was doing. Harvey found her at the dock afterward, sitting with her feet in the water. You signed them, he said. How did you know? I know you. You get quiet when you make big decisions. It's done. I'm divorcing him. Officially, legally, finally. How do you feel? Relieved, terrified, free, trapped, all of it at once. She looked up at him. Is that normal? I think normal went out the window the night you got thrown from a car. Everything after that is just survival taking different forms. He sat beside her, close but not touching. They stayed that way for a long time, not talking, just existing in the same space, processing the enormity of what came next. Miles away, Doug signed his own copy of the divorce papers with shaking hands. His lawyer watched with professional detachment. She's taking the house, half your assets, and full custody. You could fight this. No. Doug set down the pen. Give her whatever she wants. You're making a mistake. I've already made my mistakes. This is just accepting the consequences. He walked out of the lawyer's office and into a life he no longer recognized. No wife, no child, no reputation, just the endless echo of his own choices and the woman he'd destroyed for nothing. Chapter 6. The Price of Betrayal. 8 months pregnant now, Lucille moved through the world with the careful deliberation of someone carrying something precious. Her daughter kicked constantly, restless, as if sensing her mother's turmoil. Dr. Reynolds said everything looked perfect. Lucille knew perfect was a lie. Nothing about this situation was perfect. The divorce was proceeding. Doug hadn't contested anything, which somehow made it worse. Lucille had prepared for a fight. Instead, she got surrender. It felt hollow. She'd wanted him to fight for her, even now, even after everything. Wanted him to prove that somewhere under the cruelty, the man she'd married still existed. He didn't fight. He just signed papers and disappeared. He moved out of the mansion, Rebecca told her during one of their calls. Sold it, actually. moved into an apartment downtown, working as a financial consultant. His business partner bought him out. His father disowned him publicly. He's lost everything. Lucille waited to feel satisfaction, felt only emptiness. What about Claire? She's gone. Left the city. Social media says she moved to California with her boyfriend. Used Doug's money to fund their new life. Some people are calling her a hero for exposing him. Others are calling her a con artist. Depends on who you ask. What's the truth? Does it matter? She got what she wanted. He got what he deserved. You're the only one left picking up pieces. That night, Lucille dreamed of the storm, of falling, of Doug's face twisted with disgust, woke up gasping, her hand on her belly, her daughter kicking frantically against her palm. Harvey appeared in her doorway. Bad dream. Memory. He moved to sit on the edge of her bed, the same careful distance he always maintained. Want to talk about it? I keep seeing his face. The way he looked at me, like I was trash, like I'd never mattered, like 7 years of marriage meant nothing. Tears slipped down her cheeks. How does someone just stop loving you? How does love turn into that kind of hate? It wasn't love turning into hate. It was ego turning into self-preservation. You threatened his image of himself. Easier to destroy you than face what he'd become. That's not comforting. It's honest. Lucille lay back against the pillows. I thought I'd feel free when the divorce was final. Instead, I just feel numb, like I'm floating outside my own life, watching it happen to someone else. That's dissociation. It's normal after trauma. How do you know so much about trauma? Harvey was quiet for a moment. Then, because I lived through my own, different kind, but trauma all the same. What happened? My parents died when I was 23. Car accident. I was supposed to be in the car with them. Changed my plans last minute. They died. I didn't. I spent years wondering why I survived when they didn't. Built an empire trying to prove I deserved to be alive. He met her eyes. Trauma makes us do strange things. Some of us build companies. Some of us run from love. Some of us throw pregnant wives out of cars. We're all just trying to survive ourselves. Is that what you think Doug was doing? Trying to survive himself? I think Doug is a weak man who crumbled under pressure. I think he hurt you because he was too much of a coward to face himself. I think he deserves everything he's lost and more. Harvey's voice hardened. But I also think hating him takes more energy than you have right now. So maybe just let him be irrelevant. Let him disappear into his own consequences while you build something better. What if I don't know how to build something better? Then we'll figure it out together. You keep saying that. We'll figure it out together. But this isn't your life to figure out, Harvey. It's mine. I know. I'm just offering to hold the flashlight while you find your way through the dark. Lucille smiled despite everything. That's the most Harvey Clooney thing I've ever heard. Is that good or bad? It's perfect, which is annoying. I'd like to be angry with you for being so perfect all the time. I'm not perfect. I'm just good at hiding my imperfections from you. Show me one. What? Show me one imperfection. Prove you're human. Harvey thought about it, then stood and left the room. Returned with a worn notebook, handed it to her. Read page 47. Lucille opened to the page, found a journal entry dated 3 years earlier. Read words that made her chest tighten. I saw her today at the market. She looked tired. Doug was with her, treating her like an accessory instead of a person. I wanted to walk up to them, punch him in the face and carry her away. Instead, I smiled politely when she barely noticed me and went home and broke 3 plates against my kitchen wall because I'm a coward who watches the woman I love suffer and does nothing. She looked up at Harvey. You broke plates. An entire set. Very therapeutic. Also expensive. You're an angry plate breaker. Among other things, I've also thrown phones, punched walls, and once destroyed a very nice laptop by throwing it off my balcony, all because I had to watch you live with him while pretending I didn't exist. Harvey took the notebook back. So yes, I have imperfections. I'm violent with inanimate objects. I'm possessive. I'm jealous. I'm a terrible loser at board games. I sing off-key in the shower. I burn toast. I'm not perfect, Lucille. I'm just very good at managing your expectations. Lucille started laughing, couldn't stop. The image of billionaire Harvey Clooney throwing plates and laptops over her was absurd and heartbreaking, and somehow exactly what she needed to hear. You're ridiculous. I prefer emotionally complex. You're ridiculous and emotionally complex. I can live with that. They sat in comfortable silence until Lucille yawned. Harvey stood to leave. Harvey? Yes? Thank you for being ridiculous with me. Anytime. He closed the door softly behind him. Lucille lay in the dark, hand on her belly, and realized she felt something she hadn't felt in months. Not happiness, not yet, but maybe the beginning of it, the possibility of it, the hope that happiness existed somewhere on the other side of this grief. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Doug. I know I shouldn't contact you. I know the restraining order says I can't. But I needed you to know I signed the divorce papers. Everything you asked for, you'll get. The house, the money, all of it. I won't fight for custody. I won't fight for anything. You deserve better than I ever gave you. I'm sorry. For everything. I'm so fucking sorry. Lucille read it 3 times, wanted to respond, wanted to scream at him or forgive him or something. Instead, she deleted the message and blocked the number. Some apologies came too late to matter. Some doors, once closed, needed to stay that way. She fell asleep to her daughter's kicking and woke to sunlight streaming through the windows. A new day, another chance to be someone other than Doug Crusel's ex-wife. She was ready to figure out who that someone was. Chapter 7. The vigil labor started at 3 in the morning with a pain that ripped Lucille from sleep. She lay in the dark, hand on her belly, counting seconds between contractions. 8 minutes. Then 7. Then 5. She called for Harvey. He appeared instantly, already dressed, car keys in hand like he'd been waiting for this moment. Maybe he had been. It's time, she said, voice tight with pain. I've got you. The drive to the hospital was a blur. Harvey drove with calm precision while Lucille breathed through contractions that felt like her body was splitting open. He held her hand when she needed it, gave her space when she didn't, talked to her about nothing and everything to keep her mind occupied. You're going to be an amazing mother, he said as they pulled into the emergency entrance. How do you know? Because you're an amazing person. The rest will follow. She wanted to believe him. Another contraction hit, and belief became irrelevant. Only survival mattered. The hospital staff moved quickly. Wheelchair, elevator, labor and delivery floor. Dr. Reynolds appeared like magic, already in scrubs, already smiling. Let's meet your daughter. Labor was 17 hours of pain Lucille hadn't known existed. Harvey stayed the entire time, held her hand when she squeezed hard enough to break bones, wiped her forehead with cool cloths, let her scream at him when the pain became too much, never flinched, never left. I can't do this, she sobbed during hour 14. It's too much, I can't. You can. You are. You're the strongest person I've ever known. I'm not strong, I'm broken. You're both, and that's what makes you extraordinary. At hour 17, Dr. Reynolds said the words Lucille had been waiting for. It's time to push. 3 pushes. 4. 10. Lucille lost count, lost everything except the singular focus of bringing her daughter into the world. Harvey's voice in her ear. You've got this. Almost there. 1 more. Then crying. Not hers. Her daughter's. It's a girl, Dr. Reynolds announced unnecessarily, placing a tiny, squalling baby on Lucille's chest. Lucille looked down at her daughter and felt the world rearrange itself around this new gravity. This tiny human with Doug's dark hair and Lucille's nose and a future that was entirely her own. Hi, baby, Lucille whispered. I'm your mom. I'm so sorry for everything you're about to inherit. But I promise I'll make it better. I promise." Her daughter stopped crying, looked up at her with unfocused eyes. Lucille fell in love in a way she'd never loved before. Fierce, protective, absolute. "What's her name?" Dr. Reynolds asked. Lucille looked at Harvey, who stood back giving them space. "Evelyn, after my mother." "Evelyn Ball," Dr. Reynolds wrote on the birth certificate. "Beautiful name for a beautiful girl." They moved Lucille to a recovery room. Harvey followed, sat in the chair by the window while Lucille held Evelyn and marveled at the fact that she'd created a person, a whole entire person who would grow up and have opinions and dreams and break someone's heart someday. "Do you want to hold her?" Lucille asked Harvey. He hesitated. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." Harvey crossed the room with the careful steps of someone approaching something sacred. Took Evelyn with the gentle competence of someone who'd done this before. Lucille filed that question away for later. "Hi, Evelyn," Harvey said softly. "I'm Harvey. I'm not your dad, but I promise I'll protect you and your mom for as long as you'll let me." Evelyn made a small noise. Harvey smiled. Lucille's heart did something complicated in her chest. A knock on the door shattered the moment. A nurse appeared. "Mrs. Crucell, there's a man in the waiting room, says he's the father. Do you want him to come back?" Lucille's stomach dropped. Doug. He'd come. After everything. After the restraining order and the divorce and the explicit instructions to stay away. He'd come. "No," she said. "He's not allowed back here. He's very insistent. I don't care. He has a restraining order. If he doesn't leave, call security." The nurse left. 5 minutes later, shouting erupted from the hallway. Doug's voice loud and desperate. "That's my daughter! I have a right to see her!" Security's response was muffled. More shouting. Then quiet. Harvey handed Evelyn back to Lucille. "I'll handle this. Don't. He's not worth it. I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it for you. You shouldn't have to deal with him right now." Harvey left before she could argue. Lucille held Evelyn close and listened to muffled voices in the hallway. Couldn't make out words, just tones. Harvey's calm, Doug's frantic, Security's authoritative. 10 minutes later, Harvey returned alone. "He's gone." Security escorted him out. Hospital banned him from the premises for violating the restraining order. He won't be back. What did he say? Nothing that matters. Just desperate words from a desperate man. Harvey. What did he say? Harvey sat down, looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. "He said you stole his life, that I stole you, that Evelyn is his daughter and he has rights. He said a lot of things, none of them true, none of them worth repeating. But you're repeating them anyway. Because you need to understand that he's not going to accept this quietly. He's going to fight, maybe not in court, but in other ways. You need to be prepared." Lucille looked down at Evelyn sleeping in her arms. "I am prepared. I'm prepared to do whatever it takes to keep her safe, even if that means destroying him completely." "You're not a destroyer, Lucille." "Then maybe it's time I learned." They stayed in the hospital for 2 days. Standard post-birth monitoring. Lucille learned to breastfeed, change diapers, and function on 2 hours of sleep. Harvey stayed the entire time, slept in the chair by her bed, brought her food from outside because hospital food was inedible, made her laugh when exhaustion threatened to drown her. "You don't have to stay," she told him on the second night. "I'm fine. The baby's fine. Go home. Sleep in an actual bed. I'm fine here. Harvey, Lucille, I've waited 17 years to be here. Let me stay." She was too tired to argue, too grateful to push. She let him stay and pretended it didn't mean anything. Pretended having him there didn't feel like the most natural thing in the world. On the 3rd day, they went home to the estate. Lucille sat in the back seat with Evelyn's car seat, watching her daughter sleep, marveling at how something so small could be so terrifying. "What if I mess this up?" she asked Harvey. "What if I'm a terrible mother?" "Then you'll be a terrible mother who loves her daughter. That's better than most people get." "That's not comforting." It's honest. Back at the estate, Harvey had converted one of the guest rooms into a nursery. Crib, changing table, rocking chair, mountains of supplies. Lucille stood in the doorway and felt tears coming. When did you do this? While you were in the hospital. Had some people come in and set everything up. Is it okay? It's perfect. Everything is perfect. That's the problem. Why is that a problem? Because you keep doing these perfect things and I keep owing you more than I can ever repay, and eventually you're going to realize I'm not worth all this effort. Harvey set down the bags he'd been carrying, crossed to stand in front of her. You want to know what I realized? I realized that I don't need you to be worth it. I need you to be happy. If helping you be happy means doing perfect things, then I'll do them. Not because you owe me, because I want to. That's not sustainable. Neither is love, but we do it anyway. He left her standing in the nursery, processing words she wasn't ready to hear. She put Evelyn in the crib, watched her daughter sleep, and wondered how she'd gotten here. How her life had gone from picture-perfect marriage to single motherhood in a billionaire's guest house in the span of months. The answer was obvious. Doug had thrown her out of a car and Harvey had caught her. Everything else was just details. But the details mattered. Because the details were her life now. Her daughter, her future, her choice of what to do next. For now, she chose sleep, chose trust, chose to let Harvey keep being perfect while she figured out how to be enough. Chapter 8. The Fracture. 3 weeks post-birth, Lucille existed in a haze of sleepless nights and endless feeding schedules. Evelyn was a good baby, everyone said so, but good was relative when you were functioning on 90-minute sleep intervals. Harvey helped where he could, brought her coffee at dawn, held Evelyn so Lucille could shower, sang lullabies in the middle of the night when Evelyn wouldn't stop crying. He was too good, too present, too everything. You don't have to do this, Lucille told him one morning while he made breakfast, and she fed Evelyn. You don't have to be here for every moment. You have a company to run, a life to live. This is my life. Harvey, Lucille, I've been running Clooney Industries for 15 years. It runs fine without me micromanaging every decision. My executives know what they're doing. I'm choosing to be here. Let me choose. But his choosing felt like pressure, felt like debt accumulating, felt like she was taking and taking without giving anything back. The breaking point came on a Wednesday afternoon. Evelyn had been crying for 2 hours. Nothing worked. Not feeding, not changing, not holding, not putting down. Just crying that felt like it was drilling into Lucille's skull and rewiring her brain into mush. Harvey took Evelyn gently. Let me try. Lucille handed her over and walked outside, sat on the dock with her head in her hands and felt herself fracturing. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. She was supposed to be in her mansion with a husband who loved her and a baby who slept and a life that made sense. Instead, she was alone in a billionaire's house with a crying baby and a future that terrified her. Harvey found her an hour later. Evelyn had finally fallen asleep. She's down. You should rest while you can. I can't rest. My brain won't shut off. He sat beside her, too close. She could feel his warmth, and it made her angry for reasons she couldn't name. Talk to me, he said. About what? About how I'm failing at being a mother 3 weeks in. About how I'm living in your house taking your charity while giving you nothing. About how every perfect thing you do makes me feel worse about myself. Lucille, no. Don't Lucille me. Don't be understanding and patient and perfect. Don't sit there being everything Doug wasn't and make me feel guilty for not being able to love you back the way you deserve. Silence. Harvey stared out at the lake. Is that what you think? He finally said. That I'm doing this to make you feel guilty? I think you're doing this because you've loved me for 17 years and you're hoping if you're perfect enough, I'll finally love you back. And that's not fair, not to either of us. You're right. It's not fair. He stood. But I'm not doing this for love. I'm doing this because I promised your mother I'd keep you safe. I'm doing this because you need help and I can give it. I'm doing this because watching you struggle when I have resources to help would make me a monster. So I'm a charity case. You're someone I care about who's going through hell. Let me help you through it without turning it into something complicated. It is complicated, Harvey. Everything about this is complicated. You love me. I can't love you back. You're perfect. I'm broken. You're patient. I'm angry. We're living in this weird limbo where I'm not your girlfriend, but I'm not your girlfriend, and Evelyn is not your daughter, but you're the only father figure she's ever going to know, and I don't know how to navigate any of this. She was crying now. Ugly, exhausted tears. Harvey moved like he wanted to comfort her, then stopped himself. What do you want, Lucille? Really want? Because I'll do it. Whatever it is. If you want me to leave, I'll leave. If you want space, I'll give you space. If you want me to stop caring, I can't do that, but I can hide it better. Just tell me what you need. I need to know if I'm staying here because I want to or because I have nowhere else to go. I need to know if what I feel for you is real or just gratitude disguised as something more. I need to know if I'm healing or just hiding. And I can't figure any of that out while you're here being perfect all the time. Harvey absorbed this, then nodded. Okay. Okay, what? Okay, I'll go. I'll go back to the city. You stay here. Take as much time as you need. Figure out what you want without me hovering. The house is yours. Everything in it is yours. Stay a month. Stay a year. Stay forever. Just figure out who you are without me influencing the answer. Harvey, I didn't mean, yes, you did. And you're right. I've been suffocating you with help, with presence, with too much too soon. He turned to face her fully. I love you. I've loved you since we were kids. That's never going to change, but you don't owe me anything because of that. Not love, not gratitude, not your future. You owe yourself healing. You owe Evelyn stability. You owe Doug nothing. Me? I'm just the guy who was there when you needed someone. That's all I ever wanted to be. He went inside, packed a bag, left within the hour. Lucille watched his car disappear down the driveway and felt simultaneously relieved and devastated. She'd pushed him away. She'd done it on purpose. She'd done it because she was terrified of owing him, of needing him, of falling for him and making another mistake. She'd done it because she was scared, and now she was alone in a huge house with a 3-week-old baby and no idea what to do next. Evelyn woke up crying. Lucille went inside, picked her up, fed her, changed her, rocked her back to sleep, did all the things she was supposed to do, survived another day of single motherhood. That night she stood in the nursery Harvey had built and finally let herself admit the truth. She was falling for him. Had been falling for him since the night he found her in the rain. Maybe since she was 17 and ran from the intensity of his kiss. She'd spent 17 years running, and he'd spent 17 years chasing. But she'd pushed him away anyway, because falling meant trusting, and trusting meant risking. And she wasn't ready to risk again. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Her phone buzzed. A text from Harvey. If you need anything, call. I mean it. Anything. She typed and deleted 5 responses. Finally sent, thank you. 3 dots appeared, disappeared. No response came. Lucille put her phone down and focused on what she could control. Evelyn, the house, her healing. Everything else would have to wait. Doug found out about Evelyn's birth through social media. Someone had leaked a photo. Lucille leaving the hospital with a baby carrier and Harvey at her side looking protective. The caption, abandoned wife thriving with mystery man and new baby. Doug stared at the photo for hours, at Lucille looking tired but happy, at the baby he'd never met, at Harvey standing beside them like he belonged there, like Doug had been erased. He called his lawyer. I want a paternity test. I want custody evaluation. I want to meet my daughter. Doug, the restraining order. I don't care about the restraining order. That's my daughter. I have rights. His lawyer sighed. I'll file the motions. But you need to understand something. You have no credibility. You threw her pregnant mother out of a car. You violated a restraining order trying to see her at the hospital. No judge is going to give you unsupervised access. You'll be lucky to get supervised visits once a month. Once a month is better than never. Is it? Or are you just trying to control a situation you have no control over? Doug hung up, filed the motions himself, sent them to Lucille's lawyer with a note. I just want to meet my daughter, please, one time. That's all I'm asking. Rebecca called Lucille. Doug's pushing for visitation. We can fight it. Or we can give him one supervised visit and be done with it. Lucille looked down at Evelyn sleeping in her arms. Does he deserve to meet her? Legally, yes. He's the biological father. Morally, that's your call. One visit, supervised, my choice of location, my rules. If he breaks any of them, he never sees her again. Done. The visit was scheduled for the following week. Lucille spent the days leading up to it oscillating between anger and anxiety. Doug would meet Evelyn. Doug would see what he'd thrown away. Doug would have to face the consequences of his choices. She hoped it destroyed him. She hoped it healed him. She hoped something. Because feeling nothing toward him would mean he'd won, would mean he'd taken not just her marriage, but her capacity to care. Harvey called the night before the visit. Do you want me there? No, this is something I need to do alone. Okay, but I'm one call away if you need me. I know. Lucille? Yes? You're braver than you think you are. I'm terrified. That's what makes it brave. She hung up and held Evelyn close. Tomorrow, her daughter would meet her father, the man who'd thrown them both away before Evelyn was even born. Lucille didn't know what would happen, didn't know how to prepare for it, just knew she had to face it. Because running was over, hiding was over. This was her life now. Doug was part of Evelyn's story whether Lucille liked it or not. But he was no longer part of hers, and that made all the difference. Chapter 9. The Breaking Point. The meeting took place at a child services office, neutral territory, Rebecca on one side, Doug's lawyer on the other, a social worker monitoring. Lucille sat in a private room holding Evelyn while Doug waited on the other side of the door. 4 weeks old. Evelyn was 4 weeks old and about to meet the father who'd tried to kill them both. You don't have to do this, Rebecca said. We can still walk away. No, he deserves this. Deserves to see what he threw away. And what if he tries to claim parental rights? Then we fight. But I won't stop him from meeting her. I won't be the person who uses their child as a weapon, even if he was. Rebecca nodded, opened the door. Doug walked in. He looked terrible, thinner, older, haunted. He stopped when he saw Lucille, his eyes going immediately to the baby in her arms. She's beautiful, he whispered. Her name is Evelyn. After your mother? Yes. Doug took a step closer. The social worker moved with him, maintaining professional distance. Can I hold her? Lucille's every instinct screamed no. Instead, she stood and placed Evelyn in Doug's arms with the careful instruction of someone handling explosives. Support her head. Don't squeeze. If she cries, give her back immediately. Doug took his daughter with shaking hands, looked down at her with an expression Lucille had never seen, pure devastation. Hi, Evelyn. I'm your dad. I'm the man who ruined everything before you were even born. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. His voice broke. Tears fell onto Evelyn's blanket. Lucille watched without sympathy, without anger, just cold observation. She looks like you, Doug said. She has your nose, your mouth. She has your hair. Yeah. He touched Evelyn's dark hair with one finger, gentle, reverent. I missed everything. The pregnancy, the birth, these first weeks. I missed all of it because I'm an idiot who threw away the best things in his life for nothing. Claire wasn't nothing. She was your choice. She was never a choice. She was an ego trip, a midlife crisis, He stopped, looked at Lucille. There's no excuse. Nothing I say will make it better. I know that. But I need you to know I didn't understand what I had until I lost it. I didn't understand that you were everything and I was nothing without you. That's not my problem anymore. I know it's not. But I'm saying it anyway because you deserve to hear it. You deserved better than me. You deserved everything I never gave you. And this baby, he looked down at Evelyn. She deserves a father who's worth something. And I'm not. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I'm trying. Trying doesn't undo what you did. No, it doesn't. But it's all I have. Evelyn started fussing. Doug immediately handed her back to Lucille, careful not to touch her in the transfer, maintaining distance, respecting boundaries he'd destroyed months ago. "Thank you," he said, "for letting me meet her. I don't deserve it." "No, you don't. Can I see her again? Once a month? Supervised? Whatever terms you want. I just want to know my daughter." Lucille looked at this man she'd loved for 7 years. This man who'd destroyed her. This man who was Evelyn's father, whether she liked it or not. "Once a month. Supervised. Here at this office. If you miss one visit, you forfeit all future visits. If you violate any rules, you're done. If you do anything, and I mean anything, to upset her or me, you'll never see her again. Understand?" "Yes, thank you. Thank you so much." "Don't thank me. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this because Evelyn deserves the chance to know her father, even if her father is you." The words landed like blows. Doug flinched but didn't argue, just nodded and left the room with his shoulders hunched like he was carrying the weight of his own choices. Outside, Rebecca turned to Lucille. That was brutal. That was mercy. Brutal would have been denying him completely. "You're stronger than most people I work with." "I'm not strong. I'm just done being weak." They drove back to the estate in silence. Lucille held Evelyn and stared out the window at trees blurring past. Something had shifted in that room. She'd faced Doug and felt nothing. No anger, no love, no hate, just the cold assessment of a stranger looking at another stranger. Their connection was severed. Whatever had bound them together had been cut the night he threw her from his car. Everything after was just paperwork and obligation. She was free. The realization hit her like lightning. She was free. Free of Doug. Free of her marriage. Free of the life she'd built on lies and compromise. Free to become whoever she wanted to be next. Back at the house, she put Evelyn down for a nap and stood on the dock staring at water turned gold by sunset. Freedom felt strange, heavy and light at the same time, like stepping off a cliff and discovering she could fly. Her phone rang. Harvey. She stared at his name on the screen, thumb hovering over the answer button. She wanted to tell him to come back, wanted to fall into his arms and let him catch her like he always did. Wanted the safety of him, but wanting safety was what got her Doug. What got her 7 years of performance and lies. What got her thrown from a car. She answered. "Hi. How did it go?" He met her. He cried. He apologized. It changed nothing. "How do you feel?" "Free," she laughed. "Is that terrible? That watching him hold our daughter and apologize made me feel free instead of conflicted?" "That's called healing. You're allowed to feel it." Silence stretched between them. Lucille knew what she was supposed to say next, knew Harvey was waiting for her to ask him back, knew he'd come if she asked. "Harvey, I need to tell you something." "Okay. I need time, real time, not just days or weeks. I need to figure out who I am when I'm not running from something or towards someone. I need to be alone with myself and Evelyn and learn how to stand without anyone holding me up." The silence on the other end was deafening. "How long?" His voice was careful, controlled. "I don't know. However long it takes." "And what if I'm not here when you're ready? What if I finally move on?" The question hurt, but it was fair. "Then I'll be happy you found someone who didn't make you wait. You deserve that, Harvey. You deserve someone who's ready. And I'm not ready. Not yet. I've waited 17 years. I know. and I'm asking you to wait longer, or not wait at all. Your choice. But I can't come to you from a place of need anymore. If I come to you, it has to be from a place of want, of choosing you because you're who I want, not because you're who I need to survive." Harvey was quiet for so long she thought he'd hung up. Then, "Okay, okay, okay, take your time, figure out who you are. I'll be here when you're ready, if you're ever ready, and if you're not, at least I'll know it's because you chose yourself, not because I didn't try hard enough." "Harvey, I love you, Lucille. I've loved you since we were kids. That's not changing, but you're right. You need to love yourself first. So go do that. I'll wait." He hung up before she could respond. Lucille stood on the dock holding her phone, tears streaming down her face, and felt the weight of her choice settle over her. She'd chosen herself. For the first time in her life, she'd chosen herself over a man, over safety, over the easy path. It felt terrifying. It felt right. That night, she sat in the nursery watching Evelyn sleep and let herself feel the full weight of being alone. No husband, no Harvey, just her and her daughter and the vast unknown of what came next. She didn't know how to be this person, the single mother, the woman who stood alone, the survivor who didn't need rescuing. But she'd learn, day by day, choice by choice, moment by moment. She'd learn to be enough for herself. Then maybe she'd be ready for someone else. Miles away, Harvey sat in his apartment staring at his phone. He'd told her he'd wait, meant it, would wait forever if that's what she needed. But waiting hurt. Waiting was torture. Waiting was watching the woman he loved choose to be without him, even though he'd do anything to be with her. He understood, respected her choice, hated it anyway. His assistant called. "The Singapore deal needs your signature. The board meeting is tomorrow. We need you." "I'll be there." He'd throw himself into work, into building and strategizing and solving problems that had solutions, because the problem of loving Lucille Ball had no solution, only patience, only time, only hope that someday she'd choose him the way he'd chosen her 17 years ago. He could wait. He'd proven that. But the waiting was killing him slowly, and he wondered if love was supposed to hurt this much, if devotion was supposed to feel like bleeding out one day at a time. He didn't know. Only knew he'd do it anyway. Because the alternative, not loving her, was worse than any pain she could cause him. Doug sat in his apartment staring at the single photo he'd taken of Evelyn on his phone. His daughter. The baby he'd never expected to love this much from one meeting. He'd meant what he said. He'd try to be better. Try to be worthy of seeing her grow up. Try to be the father she deserved instead of the man he'd been. His therapist asked him in their next session, "What do you want, Doug? Really want?" "I want to go back. Change everything. Be the man I should have been." "You can't go back. So what do you want moving forward?" Doug thought about it. Really thought. "I want to be someone my daughter isn't ashamed of. I want to be the cautionary tale that helps other men not make my mistakes. I want my suffering to mean something. That's growth. That's consequence. Growth is what I do with it." He left therapy and went to work at his modest job and lived his modest life and accepted that he'd destroyed everything for nothing, that Claire had used him, that he'd thrown away a queen for a con artist, that his daughter would grow up knowing her father was the man who'd tried to kill her mother. He deserved the weight of it, deserved to carry it forever, deserved no forgiveness, no peace, no second chances. But he'd try anyway, try to be better, try to be worthy of the small mercy Lucille had shown him by letting him see Evelyn once a month. It wasn't enough, would never be enough, but it was all he had. And maybe if he tried hard enough for long enough, his daughter would one day understand that monsters could become men again, that broken people could heal even if they never stopped being broken. It was the only hope he had left. Chapter 10. After the Storm. 3 months passed in quiet solitude. Lucille learned the rhythm of life alone with Evelyn, morning feedings at dawn while the world slept. Afternoon walks through the estate where cherry blossoms fell like snow. Evening lullabies sung off-key while Evelyn's eyes grew heavy. Just the two of them, learning each other, building something that belonged only to them. Harvey kept his promise. He stayed away, sent weekly texts asking how they were. Nothing more, never pushed, never demanded, just checked in and waited like he'd been waiting for 17 years. Lucille appreciated the space, needed it, used it to figure out who she was when she wasn't performing for anyone, when she wasn't Doug's wife or Harvey's love or anyone's anything except Evelyn's mother and her own person. She started painting again, set up an easel on the dock and painted the lake in every light: dawn gold, midday silver, sunset copper, night black, each painting different, each one hers. No one to tell her it was impractical or childish or a waste of time, just her and colours and the freedom to create without judgment. The divorce papers came through in month 2. Rebecca called with the news. "It's official, you're divorced." Lucille felt nothing, no relief, no sadness, just the quiet acknowledgement that a chapter had closed. Thank you for everything. What will you do now? Live, just live. Doug maintained his monthly visits with mechanical consistency, showed up, held Evelyn, spoke to her in soft tones about how sorry he was, how he'd do better, how he hoped one day she'd understand. Never asked Lucille for anything, never pushed boundaries, just existed in the margins of their lives like a ghost haunting his own choices. Lucille watched him with detached curiosity. This man who'd once been her entire world now felt like a character from someone else's story. She felt no anger toward him anymore, no love either, just the empty space where feeling used to be. Eleanor called one afternoon. "I did it. I left him, filed for divorce. I'm staying with my sister in Boston, and I've never felt more terrified or more alive." "How does it feel?" "Like jumping off a cliff and discovering I have wings. You gave me permission to fly, Lucille. Thank you for that." After they hung up, Lucille stood on the dock holding Evelyn and realized something profound. She'd given Eleanor permission to leave, but who had given Lucille permission to stay, to choose solitude, to not need anyone, to be enough on her own? She'd given herself that permission, and it felt like power. Month 3 brought a decision. She couldn't hide at the estate forever. Evelyn needed socialization. Lucille needed community. They needed to build a life that existed in the world, not separate from it. She found an apartment in the city, 3 bedrooms, top floor, balcony overlooking a park where children played. She bought it with money from her trust fund, her money, her choice, and felt pride in providing for herself and her daughter without help from anyone. Harvey had texted 2 days before the move. "I heard you're moving to the city. If you need help, I'm here." She'd stared at the message for an hour before responding, "Thank you. I think I need to do this one myself." His response came immediately. "I understand. I'm proud of you." 4 words that made her throat tight. "I'm proud of you." When was the last time someone had said that without wanting something in return? Moving day was chaos, boxes everywhere, Evelyn crying because everything was different, Lucille exhausted and overwhelmed and questioning every choice that led her here. She sat on the floor of her empty living room, surrounded by her life in cardboard, and wondered if she'd made a terrible mistake. A knock on the door. She opened it to find Eleanor standing there with coffee and donuts. "Thought you could use a friend," Eleanor said simply. They spent the afternoon unpacking together, talking about nothing and everything, building the kind of friendship that came from shared survival. When Eleanor left, Lucille stood in her new apartment and felt something settle inside her chest. She wasn't alone. She'd chosen solitude to heal, but she didn't have to stay isolated forever. She could build a life with friends and community and connections that didn't require her to lose herself. That night she called Harvey. He answered on the first ring. "Hi." "Hi." His voice was careful. How's the new place? Terrifying, perfect, overwhelming, home. She paused. I miss you. Silence. Then, I miss you too. I'm not ready yet. But I wanted you to know, I miss you. I think about you. I wonder if you're okay. I'm okay. I'm waiting. Still. Harvey, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. There's a difference. What if I'm never ready? What if I've changed too much and what I feel for you isn't what you need it to be? Then I'll have spent my time loving someone extraordinary who didn't love me back. Worse fates exist. That's not fair to you. Maybe not, but it's my choice. Let me make it. They talked for 2 hours. About nothing important. About everything that mattered. About Evelyn's first laugh, and Lucille's paintings, and Harvey's latest business acquisition. Easy conversation, comfortable, like slipping into old clothes that still fit perfectly. When they hung up, Lucille lay in her new bed in her new life and realized something terrifying. She wasn't ready to choose Harvey because she needed him. She was getting ready to choose him because she wanted him. The difference felt monumental. Another month passed. Lucille built routines, mommy groups at the park, coffee shops where she painted while Evelyn napped, art classes where she learned techniques she'd never had time for before. A life that was hers, full, rich, completely independent of any man. She saw Harvey once during this time, ran into him at a gallery opening. He looked good, tired, but good. They talked for 20 minutes about art and nothing, the conversation easy but loaded with everything they weren't saying. You look happy, he said as they were leaving. I am. I'm building something I'm proud of. I'm glad. He hesitated. I'm seeing someone. Nothing serious, but I wanted you to know. I don't want you hearing it from someone else. The words hit like a physical blow. Lucille forced herself to smile. That's good. You deserve happiness too. Yeah. He didn't sound convinced. They parted ways. Lucille went home and felt something crack inside her chest. Harvey was moving on, like she'd told him to, like she'd given him permission for, like she'd wanted for him. Except she hadn't wanted it. The realization crashed over her in waves. She'd wanted him to wait forever, wanted him to be there when she was ready, wanted him to choose her even when she wouldn't choose him. And that wasn't fair, wasn't right, wasn't love. It was selfishness. She spent 3 days processing, then called Rebecca. The woman Harvey's seeing, do you know anything about her? Why? Because I'm trying to figure out if I'm jealous or relieved. Rebecca laughed. That's growth, admitting you don't know what you feel. A pause. From what I hear, it's very casual. A friend of a friend, nothing serious. Why? Because I think I might be ready, and I need to know if I'm too late. Only one way to find out. Lucille waited until evening, put Evelyn to bed, changed clothes 3 times, finally settled on jeans and a sweater. Casual, like this wasn't the most important moment of her life. She drove to Harvey's building, stood outside for 10 minutes gathering courage, then went inside. His apartment was on the 20th floor. She knocked before she could change her mind. He answered, looking confused. Lucille? Is everything okay? Is Evelyn? She's fine. She's with a sitter. I needed to talk to you. Harvey stepped aside, let her in. His apartment was exactly like him. Minimal, elegant, books everywhere. What's going on? I heard you're seeing someone. I am, casually. Nothing serious. Do you like her? She's nice, smart, easy to be around. He studied Lucille's face. Why are you asking? Because I need to know if I'm too late. Too late for what? For you. The words came out quiet, terrified. I've spent 4 months learning how to stand alone, learning who I am without anyone defining me. I'm strong enough now to survive without you. I don't need you to save me or protect me or fix me. I'm whole on my own. Okay. But I don't want to be alone. I want you. Not because you're safe or convenient or because you were there when I fell. I want you because you're you, because you make me laugh, because you've seen me at my worst, and somehow still think I'm worth waiting for, because when I imagine my future, you're in it. Not as someone I need, as someone I want." Harvey was very still. "Are you sure? Because I can't do this halfway. I can't be your maybe, or your someday, or your when you're ready. If we do this, I'm all in, and I need you to be all in too." "I'm terrified of trusting again, of risking again, of loving someone and having them destroy me again. I know, but I'm ready. I'm ready to be terrified with you instead of safe without you." She moved closer. "I love you, Harvey. I should have said it 17 years ago under that oak tree. I should have said it the night you found me in the rain. I should have said it every day since, but I'm saying it now. I love you." Harvey closed the distance between them, cupped her face in his hands. "I've loved you for 17 years. I'll love you for 17 more, for forever. You're it for me. You've always been it." "What about the woman you're seeing?" "She's a nice person who deserves someone who's not in love with someone else. I'll end it respectfully. Then I'm yours, if you'll have me." "I'll have you." He kissed her, not desperate, not urgent, just steady and sure and full of 17 years of waiting finally ending. Lucille kissed him back and felt something click into place. This was right. Not perfect, not easy, but right. They spent hours talking about what came next, about taking things slow, about building something together instead of her depending on him, about being partners instead of savior and saved. "I want you in my life," Lucille said as she was leaving, "but I need to keep building mine too. Can you handle that?" "I've waited 17 years. I can handle anything." She kissed him goodbye and drove home to her daughter and her apartment and her life that was finally, completely hers. Harvey was part of it now, but he wasn't all of it. She'd made sure of that. Doug heard about Lucille and Harvey through social media. A photo of them at a park with Evelyn, looking happy, looking like a family. He stared at the image for a long time, then closed his phone and went to therapy and talked about acceptance, about letting go, about understanding that some mistakes cost you everything and you just had to live with that. "Do you resent Harvey?" his therapist asked. "No, I resent myself. Harvey's just the man who loved her better than I did. That's not his fault, it's mine. That's growth, Doug. That's consequence. Growth is what I do with it." He kept showing up for monthly visits, kept being consistent, kept trying to be a father Evelyn could be proud of someday. Even if that someday never came, even if she grew up hating him, he'd try anyway, because trying was all he had left. Spring arrived. Lucille stood on her balcony watching cherry blossoms fall like snow while Evelyn played at her feet and Harvey made breakfast in her kitchen. Her apartment, her life, her choice. She'd survived a storm that should have destroyed her, had climbed out of the wreckage and built something new. Not perfect, but hers. And standing beside her was the man who'd waited 17 years for her to find her way home. She'd finally made it. The end.